Ipswich is 45 minutes southwest of Brisbane, and for the past month, residents like Jim Dodrell have been oblivious that their recycling has been treated like garbage.
We're facing, an environmental catastrophe already with pollution and plastic and the like, and the council is just sending this material to landfill.
Residents are alarmed. This is where their weekly recycling effort is ending up. Ratepayers Association President Jim Dodrell and waste activist Jeff Yarram are trying to get access to the landfill to see the ugly reality.
You can actually smell the odour right here already.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And you can see the
here.
bird activity up there as well. You can see, because that's an indication of putrescible waste, which is household waste going here, not just the recycled material.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really big site. And you can see how high it's extended, and it's keeping on coming south. It's just, and you can see the activity, all the trucks.
Bigger and bigger.
But the owner of the tip has denied them that access.
We want to be able to see what's happening with waste, then that should be for us to dictate, not for them to dictate to us.
At the epicentre of this city's recycling crisis is the Mayor, Andrew Antonoli.
It's embarrassing, yes, but I think the crisis in recycling has come to the fore. We're the first major city that's been hit. We won't be the last.
Ipswich is one of the first areas in Australia to be impacted by China's refusal to continue to be the dumping ground for the world's waste. For the last decade, it's where Australia has sent half of our waste, paper and plastic to be recycled. The Ipswich Mayor says his council has been forced to dump its recycling here at landfill because the China ban meant costs would increase by $2 million a year, a cost he says is unsustainable.
Well, our hand was forced. Our contract fell over. It fell over because the contractor, who was previously a successful tenderer, would not sign the contract for the amounts that he had tendered for.
I'm sure every other council is looking at this issue, and if they're not, they should be.
Tony Khoury has been predicting the China ban would force councils like Ipswich to send recycling to landfill. Now it's happening at a faster pace than even he realised, and he expects more to come.
It's likely that this situation may repeat itself in other regional parts of New South Wales who have access to cheap landfill pricing. We're in a very challenging recycling time at the moment, and it might be that with the tyranny of distance that regional centres come under pressure to maintain their recycling.
It's not just the China ban that's to blame. Half of the recycling collected in Ipswich has really been contaminated waste.
Dirty pizza boxes, certain types of glassware, napkins and all those, and nappies, those sorts of things. If there's a heavy contamination of those sorts of things, including plastic bags, then the recycler just chooses to refuse the load.
How long has Ipswich's contamination rate been above 50%?
Well, it certainly has increased dramatically in the last 12 months.
I've never heard of a contamination rate above 50% ever. In fact, most of South East Queensland's councils, they have a contamination rate under 10%. And what council should be doing is working on reducing that contamination, not abandoning the scheme completely.
When Ipswich Council revealed to ratepayers last week they were no longer recycling, there was a furious community reaction.
Now all of a sudden overnight we're not going to be recycling anymore, so a bit of a shock to the system.
I really don't like it.
I think it's the wrong thing, really. The way Ipswich City Council does anything, they're useless.
I've been inundated with calls and emails and messages in relation to this matter. First of all, people are angry because they weren't consulted about it. And second of all, people took some pride in doing their bit.
Now the Mayor has backed down. Do you accept that this process has appeared shambolic? You're saying one day recycling is off, it's going to landfill, and now you're saying, oh, well, maybe some recycling is back on.
If you want to say that this is shambolic, then I only want to put out there that this was a crisis for our nation looming. What we've done by putting it on the national agenda, putting it out there, is actually show that the industry can work harder, can be better at what they do.
The council is in emergency negotiations to restart recycling, but when it returns, it could be a reduced service.
Glass is one that's proven to be uneconomical, but paper is at risk. Certainly, even recycled plastics are at risk because of the China crisis. So the one thing that remains very, very strong and continues to be economical are metals such as aluminium.
One solution being touted by Ipswich Council with the backing of the Queensland Government is burning recycling to transform it into electricity, known as waste to energy.
Europe and more recently the United States have been active in the waste to energy field. And we see waste to energy as actually a way of reducing landfill and also reducing the pressure with respect to recycling. It does still provide for recycling options, particularly for those viable and high-value recyclables.
But some environmental groups are against waste to energy schemes.
We're opposed to waste to energy, principally because it drives up waste generation. It creates emissions and it creates health problems for those around the facility.
This Friday, state and federal environment ministers will meet, and on the agenda is the recycling crisis. Those on the front line are demanding action before other councils are forced to abandon or reduce their recycling.
But certainly in the regions there's a real problem, and that's why there's a real urgent need for government action. It's about really developing the facilities that can take the recycling that the community is collecting. Then we can start looking at other businesses, other business opportunities using recycled product.
Well, if it doesn't occur, then what happened the last few days where we could not find a contractor to take our recyclables, it means that basically we're just going to be a country of landfill.